Welcome back to the epic saga of Ahmose I, the pharaoh who didn't just win a war, he forged an empire from its ashes. If you missed part 1, where we covered his incredible rise and the dramatic fall of the Hyksos capital, Avaris, be sure to check that out. For everyone else, grab your seats, because the battle for Egypt's future has only just begun. Avaris was in ruins, and the Hyksos were driven from the Nile Delta. A lesser ruler might have celebrated, declared victory, and called it a day. But Ahmose I was not a lesser ruler. He knew that freedom was fragile. The enemy, though defeated at home, still lurked beyond Egypt's borders, regrouping in their strongholds in Canaan. And to the south, the vast, wealthy land of Nubia had grown independent and powerful during the decades of division. Egypt was a body reunited, but its limbs were weak and its neighbors were circling. Ahmose's mission was far from over. It had merely entered its next, even more critical, phase. Ahmose understood that securing Egypt meant controlling its resources and borders with an iron fist. His gaze turned south, to Nubia. This wasn't just a punitive expedition, it was a strategic masterstroke. Nubia was the source of gold, the divine metal that funded armies, built temples, and served as the bedrock of international trade. For centuries, Egypt had dominated this region, and Ahmose was determined to restore that control. He led his seasoned army down the Nile, not just as conquerors, but as reclaimers. They marched into lands that had been Egyptian territory for generations, their objective clear: bring the gold mines of Wart and Kush back under the pharaoh's authority. The campaign was swift and decisive. Local chieftains who had tasted independence were no match for the disciplined, battle-hardened Egyptian forces. Ahmose re-established old forts, built new ones, and appointed loyal governors. The ancient trade routes, arteries that pumped wealth and exotic goods into Egypt, were once again secure. The flow of gold, ivory, and incense resumed, not as tribute from an equal, but as resources from a vassal state. Egypt's economic engine was roaring back to life. With the south pacified, Ahmose turned his attention back to the northeast, to the lingering Hyksos threat. He pursued them into their heartland in southern Canaan. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about sending a message to the entire region: Egypt is back, and its reach is long. His army laid siege to the fortress of Sharan, a major Hyksos bastion. The siege was a grueling, 3-year affair, a testament to both the enemy's resilience and Ahmose's unyielding determination. While his soldiers encircled the city, cutting off supplies and repelling counterattacks, Ahmose was proving that Egypt's power no longer ended at its own borders. When Sharan finally fell, the last organized Hyksos resistance was shattered. Ahmose had not only liberated his country, he had projected its power abroad, establishing a buffer zone that would protect the Nile Delta for generations. These campaigns were made possible by a military machine unlike any Egypt had seen before. Ahmose was a brilliant innovator. He had learned from his enemies, adopting the powerful composite bow and the revolutionary horse-drawn chariot. But his genius lay in organization. He created a professional standing army, a concept that was still new in the world. This wasn't a seasonal levy of farmers, it was a permanent force of trained soldiers loyal to the pharaoh alone. He also established a powerful navy, with ships that could transport troops and supplies rapidly up and down the Nile, giving him unparalleled mobility. This integrated army-navy system was the key to his dominance. But how do we know so much about these battles? We have a first-hand account, a voice that speaks to us from over 3,500 years ago. It belongs to a soldier named Ahmose, son of Ebana. He was a marine who served under the king, and his life story is carved into the walls of his tomb at El-Kab. It's one of the most important historical documents from ancient Egypt, a soldier's memoir that reads like an action movie script. He tells us about the siege of Avaris, describing hand-to-hand combat and how he captured an enemy soldier, earning him his first Gold of Valor, a prestigious military award. He recounts the campaign in Nubia and the brutal siege of Sharon. Through his eyes, we see King Ahmose not as a distant divine figure, but as a commander on the front lines, leading his men, sharing their dangers, and rewarding their bravery. He writes about being promoted and receiving land and slaves as rewards for his service. This gives us an incredible insight into how Ahmose I built loyalty. He created a new military aristocracy, a class of decorated veterans and generals who were given land and titles. Their wealth and status were directly tied to the success of the pharaoh and the state. This system ensured the army's unwavering support and created a powerful elite dedicated to maintaining the new dynasty. With Egypt secure and its coffers filling with the wealth of Nubia and Asia, Ahmose the warrior began his transformation into Ahmose the builder. A country torn apart by a century of conflict needed more than just military victories. It needed to be healed. It needed its soul restored. Ahmose initiated a massive construction program across the length of the country. His primary focus was on the gods, who, in the Egyptian worldview, had granted him victory. Temples that had been neglected or destroyed during the Hyksos period were not just repaired, they were rebuilt on a grander scale than ever before. He commissioned new chapels at the great temple of Karnak in Thebes, which was rapidly becoming the religious capital of the empire. He honored his grandmother, Queen Tetishe, with a pyramid and a temple at Abydos, the sacred city of the god Osiris. This act was deeply symbolic, connecting his new dynasty with the revered traditions of the past and honoring the matriarch who had inspired the War of Liberation. He also constructed the last royal pyramid built by a native Egyptian pharaoh. Located at Abydos, this monument was different. It wasn't intended as his tomb that was hidden away in the Theban hills, the precursor to the Valley of the Kings. This pyramid was a cenotaph, a symbolic tomb dedicated to his cult and his connection to the god Osiris. It was the centerpiece of a huge complex of temples that celebrated his divine mandate and his role as the unifier of Egypt. Thebes, his home city, was transformed. It became the beating heart of the empire, a glittering metropolis whose temples, as one text says, shone like the rising sun. This wasn't just construction, it was propaganda carved in stone. Every pylon, every obelisk, every relief proclaimed the dawn of a new age, the age of Ahmose, the first king of the glorious 18th dynasty. Ahmose I ruled for about 25 years. In that short time, he took a fractured, humiliated nation and reforged it into a superpower. He was the complete pharaoh, a brilliant general, a shrewd strategist, a master administrator, and a pious builder. He inherited a rebellion and left behind an empire. The foundations he laid were so strong that they supported the new kingdom for nearly 500 years, an era that would see legendary pharaohs like Hatshepsut, Thutmose III, Akhenaten, and Tutankhamun. They all built upon the legacy of the warrior king who fought for Egypt's very survival. Ahmose I wasn't just a chapter in Egyptian history, he was the man who wrote the book for the new kingdom. He proved that from the ashes of war, a determined leader could build an eternal empire. His story is a timeless lesson in leadership, resilience, and the indomitable will to not just rebuild, but to build back stronger than ever before. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the life of Ahmose I. His reign is a pivotal moment in world history, and it's been a privilege to share it with you. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more epic stories from the ancient world. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you won't miss our next video. We love hearing from you, So leave a comment below and let us know which historical figure you'd like us to cover next. Until then, stay curious.